Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ronald McFadden. I have the humble pleasure of serving as chair of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, and we'd like to welcome you to the November 12th public board meeting of our board. If you have not done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the meeting. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and their staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record, as I believe we have one or two commissioners who are joining us virtually. Vice Chair Roberts.
Vice Chair Roberts present.
Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Ames Messenger present.
Commissioner Coy. Commissioner Esposito.
Commissioner Esposito present.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, present.
Commissioner Muhammad.
Muhammad present.
Commissioner Parker. Commissioner Redding Lallinger.
Reading Lallinger present.
Commissioner Rooks. Commissioner Sally. Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Slater Harrington present.
I am also present. That is 8 present with 4 absent. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
So moved, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second, Roberts.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any unreadiness? All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Esposito present.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Muhammad,
Yes.
Commissioner Redding Lallinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. Please join me in standing for the presentation of colors by the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps from Benjamin Franklin High School.
Part-time march. Let's turn march. Color guard, vote. Present, arms. First Sergeant Alvin Garrison, Benjamin Franklin High School, requesting permission. Thank you, sir. Order, arms. Colors reverse, march. Color guard, vote. Present, arms.
United States of America. To the republic. The nation. Under God. Indivisible. Liberty and justice for
Order, arms. Vote.
Tonight, we had Cadet Sergeant First Class Alvin Garrison, Cadet Private Nasir Harris, Cadet First Lieutenant Deanna Reyes, Cadet Captain Jemiah Garrison, and Cadet Second Lieutenant Deshawn Frederick. Can we give our students another round of applause? Tonight, I hear we also had some amazing student performance from Leith Walk Elementary Middle School. Can we also shout out Leith Walk and those incredible students that were here? Listening, if you can hear us, we know that you did an outstanding job, and we certainly love and support arts education and the arts, all things arts. It looks like we have some advocates here tonight. Now, have Commissioner Esposito read our moment of silence.
I would like to take a moment to recognize the passing of City Schools students. Each of these individuals were part of the school communities. They will be remembered fondly by the greater Baltimore City City Schools community. Tonight, we send our deepest condolences to their families and friends. Pimlico Elementary Middle School, Taylor Danae Dent, affectionately known as Tay Tay, was a bright and intelligent 7th grade student at Pimlico Elementary Middle School. During her brief time at Pimlico, Tay Tay enjoyed coming to school with her friends, cooking class and participating in the Special Olympics Games in 2024. She was a gold medalist in the 25-meter race. Every day, Taylor would greet each and every person with a hug and a smile. She was very dedicated and hardworking student, and her presence at Pimlico Elementary Middle School will be greatly missed.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. And we've also had a couple of our young people, our students, who were involved in some shootings here in the city. And as I've been saying since yesterday, this is not something that we can normalize. And so our hearts go out to the families of those students, those school communities. You all are in our thoughts. You are in our prayers. It is not an exciting time of our meeting to have to acknowledge these things, but it's important that we do. So thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a motion to approve the prior open session summaries? And this is the motion where we're looking at our last public meeting, all of the summaries, the minutes from that last meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Any unreadiness? Hearing none. Vice Chair Roberts.
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Yes.
Has Commissioner Coy joined us?
Yes.
Are you in favor?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker, have you joined us? Commissioner Redding Lallinger.
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks, have you joined us? Will he be joining us tonight? Commissioner Sally, have you joined us? Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries? These summaries are from our closed sessions. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from that last meeting?
So moved, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, Vice Chair Roberts.
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Yes.
Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad.
Yes.
Commissioner Redding Lallinger.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. So good evening again to everyone. November is Native American Heritage Month. Did we all know that? Did we? Okay. All right. should. And just like we get to times like February and it's Black History Month, and we say, well, every day is Black History Month in America. Every day should be Native American Heritage Month, Native American Heritage all the time as well. So this is a special time, though, that we're going to reflect and acknowledge the historic and current contributions of Indigenous people around the world, from their food to the music, to the fashion, to spirituality and art. Indigenous people are a part of the foundation of this country and this continent. In observance of Native American Heritage Day, or Indigenous Peoples Day, and several other holidays this month, tonight will be the only public board meeting in November. Also, city schools and the district office will be closed from November 27th through the weekend, opening back up on Monday, December 2nd. Hope you all use this well-deserved time off to pause and embrace the spirit of giving and gratitude. Please connect with your loved ones. Please get some rest. Please rejuvenate and make memories that will last a lifetime. From the board to you, we wish you a happy beginning to our holiday season. Next, during this meeting, the board will be presented with an introduction to the annual review of schools, the recommendations for school year 24-25. For those unfamiliar with the annual review of schools, it is a process where city schools uses a collection of academic and professional recommendations from our staff, our students, our families, communities to review, discuss, and plan, and also implement physical and programmatic developments within our school district. We have a pretty large portfolio. After tonight's presentation, the board will host opportunities for public comment on these recommendations. The first opportunity is a virtual meeting scheduled for Thursday, December 12th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. The second opportunity will occur in early January. For more details, please be on the lookout for that date. Visit the annual review webpage on the City Schools website. Finally, I want to close my comments tonight by spreading awareness of two student-focused scholarships that I implore our students to research and consider applying for. The first is the Teaching Fellows of Maryland Scholarship. The scholarship is awarded to students who pledge to work, and this is very important to us, as public school or public pre-kindergarten teachers in Maryland upon completion of their studies at schools that have at least 50% of the students in their school eligible for free or reduced price meals. High school students who are interested in applying for this scholarship must complete the online Maryland College Aid Processing System application, that's a tongue twister, and submit a high school transcript after completion of the first semester in their senior year, which is approaching. A 600-word essay detailing how they have demonstrated an exceptional dedication to or aptitude for teaching, and an institutional certification form. Applications must be submitted by December 31st, 2024 for consideration. The second scholarship is the Carson Scholars Fund. Students in grades 4 through 11 who excel academically are dedicated to serving their communities, are nominated by their schools and awarded a $1,000 scholarship towards a 4-year college or university. Only one student from each school can apply unless otherwise told by a CSF staff member. The deadline for a school to nominate a student is December 18th, 2024. The students who are nominated can then apply for the scholarship by January 13th, 2025. So for more information on the Teaching Fellows for Maryland Scholarship and the Carson Scholars Fund, contact your school administrator. Thank you so much. The board acknowledges a gift in the amount of $9,400 to the Dallas F. Nicholas Senior Elementary School for interactive smart boards. Thank you. And this is from an anonymous donor. Is there a motion to approve the PEP and quasi-judicial matters?
So moved, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Neon readiness. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts, Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Abstain.
Commissioner Esposito,
Abstain.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner Redding Lallinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally. Has Sally joined us? Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes with 7 in favor, 2 abstentions, and 3 absent. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Santelises for her comments.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am going to invite Chief Human Capital Officer Emily Nielsen for this evening's PEP agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, Board Commissioners. On tonight's PEP, appointments from the Office of the Chief Academic Officer recommended that Eugene Chonky, currently Educational Specialist 2 Secondary Services, be appointed Coordinator Career Readiness, effective November 18th, 2024. Recommended that Kalisha Douglas, currently Literacy Coach, be appointed Director Social Studies, effective November 18th, 2024.
By all means, if you are in the space, please stand so
Yes.
that we can see you and acknowledge you.
Congratulations.
And also, if you are joining us virtually and you hear your name, please come on camera so that we can acknowledge you in that way as well. Chief Nelson.
Recommended that Shalonda Lyons Oak, currently Assistant Principal at Garrett Heights, be appointed Educational Specialist 2 Suspension Services, effective November 18th, 2024. Recommended that Kelly Queen Hale, currently teacher at Hamilton Elementary Middle, be appointed Educational Specialist 2 Robotics, effective November 18th, 2024. From the Board of School Commissioners, recommended that Dewana Starrett, currently Director Legislative and Government Affairs, be appointed Executive Director Legislative and Government Affairs, effective November 18th, 2024. And now for the CEO notifications. From the Office of the Chief Operations Officer, an appointment, Gloria Holt, currently Assistant Director, Student Transportation, be appointed Director, Transportation Services, effective November 18th, 2024. Anthony Pena, currently Director, Building Maintenance and Inspections, be appointed Director, Community and Public Relations, effective November 18th, 2024. And from the Office of the Chief Information Technology Officer, Nina Carter Smith, currently Director, School Police Systems and Logistics, be appointed Director on Loan, effective November 18th, 2024. Congratulations to everyone on tonight's PEP.
Great, thank you very much. Congratulations, everyone. And thank you, Chief Nielsen. I would like to continue this evening with exciting news. The preliminary pre-K through 12 enrollment for city schools in the 2024-25 school year showed a significant increase over last year. Preliminary numbers show the pre-K through 12 enrollment for this school year is 76,842, which is an increase of 1,031 students over last year. Now, the 24-25 data is not yet official and numbers are subject to change, but the trend is extremely positive at a time when many districts like ours across the country are actually losing enrollment. Our Latino student enrollment continued to accelerate in the past year, while the decrease in Black students was significantly below the average decreases over the past 8 years as Black families left the city. Overall, enrollment increased in nearly every grade between kindergarten and 12th grade. As expected, schools with the greatest student population change are found in the southeastern section of the city, but other areas of the city saw large increases as well. Overall, 65 of the 90 elementary zones saw an increase in student population. These increases speak volumes about the health of city schools and the recognition by Baltimore's families of our efforts on behalf of their students Even as the actual city's population decreases, ours have now increased. I would also like to give a shout out to Sonia Goodwin and the attendance team for their diligence in identifying and resolving barriers to student enrollment and attendance. Nice job, Team City Schools. And thank you, Dr. Goodwin. Over there she is in the corner. Excellent, excellent.
Stand up so we can see you. There we go. Because Dr. Santalisa, if I'm correct, there was also some celebration that occurred at the Council for Great City Schools Conference a few weeks ago on the work that that team has done. So just want to highlight and shout that out again for you all.
Thank you, Chair. That's wonderful. Next, in collaboration with the Baltimore Ravens and Under Armour, City Schools just completed our inaugural girls flag football season. 12 high schools, yeah, I think it's a show too. 12 high schools participated in this history-making season with teams split into two conferences, the Trailblazers and the Trendsetters. Here's a video from Communications that does a great job of showing the excitement and enthusiasm around girls flag football.
Continues across Maryland. Today's first game here at Dunbar with the Reginald Lewis Falcons and the Ace Eagles. Dunbar will take on Maribel, Green Street take on Digital Harbor Rams. 3 great games of girls flag football. Good luck to all teams competing today.
It's a very exciting day. We're absolutely thrilled to have a partnership with the Ravens to give a new opportunity to our student athletes, one that we haven't had before. This is our inaugural season, and it's good to see the coaches excited, the students excited, and the fans excited.
I'm just really excited that in a school that is predominantly males, that we found a sport that has drawn so many young ladies to the team, just doing something new. We have girls who are athletes for other teams. We have one young lady who plays volleyball and she wants to balance both sports. It was just really cool to see their excitement, their dedication. I'm impressed that they're practicing on the weekends. And they've also been able to recruit a lot of coaches from the staff. So I'm just excited for them. I don't think we can lift up girls' sports and athletics enough. It's a nice opportunity to see the girls shine because they deserve it.
I feel good about this game. You know, my team came and we dominated. What do you say? And we come back and we plan to do more. Show y'all much more what we can do.
The game went awesome. I'm really happy that my team came together and we got a dub. So,
I'm just excited for real because they doubted us, but we were going to get a dub, and we got it. And I'm just excited for the season. I mean, more wins to get here.
It's been a great day of girls flag football. We're excited to be a part of this history-making event. Looking forward to a great season to showcase the girls like they did today.
Very nice, very nice. Great work, great partnership. The city championship was held last Wednesday between conference winners Dunbar and Patterson, with Dunbar winning 20-18. That's a great game. On Friday night, Dunbar reached the quarterfinals at the statewide tournament at M&T Bank Stadium. Yesterday, all of our girls flag football participants were honored with medals at a special reception celebrating the inaugural season in city schools. I want to thank Commissioner Redding Lollinger, who was also there, making sure that the young woman knew that this was a momentous occasion. And it really was an opportunity to recognize the dedication, hard work, and achievements of our student athletes, coaches, and supporters. Congratulations to all of our inaugural teams, and we look forward to another great season of competition next year. Now next, we have heard a great deal throughout, particularly the past few years, about the concerns and the real importance of door locks We've heard from teachers, we've heard from BTU, we've heard from school leaders. And we know that the security of our school staff and students really is our number one priority. Now, at present, most classroom doors in city schools require staff to step into hallways to lock them. And this is a practice that poses an obvious security risk in emergencies. The board has actually heard some public testimony on this as well. And this is why we are implementing an intruder lock project as a proactive and critical step towards safeguarding our school environments. The new intruder locks will allow doors to be locked from inside the classroom, thereby minimizing exposure risks during a lockdown. Now, this is a big project, and it requires the installation of new locks on an estimated 7,600 doors across classrooms and critical office spaces. Now, in most cases, door and frame replacements will also be required to meet the security standards. The total cost of the project is estimated to be close to $50 million. Given the timeline requirements for procurement, material acquisition, and construction, the process will involve structured, overlapping steps to maintain continuity from phase to phase. We will begin with high schools, where the data shows we experience the most security incidents. In the next phases, we will continue installation in regional clusters to balance resources and manage contractor capacity efficiently. This carefully phased approach will include outreach efforts with key staff and ongoing collaboration with the Baltimore Teachers Union to address teachers' concerns and suggestions. I want to thank the BTU for their partnership on this. And then in summary, the intruder lock system really will strengthen our school security infrastructure, align with best practice, and provide a safe and supportive learning environment for all students and staff. We will continue to keep everyone updated with further details. And again, one of the things that this does mean, which we will get to during budget season, is the reprioritization of funds within existing projects to really be devoted to this particular effort. I want to shout out our operations team, chief of staff's team, legal, others who really came together around this to prioritize. Chief financial officer, you can't do anything that's $50 million without involving the finance office. So I just want to thank everyone for really the quick work on turning this around so that we can begin this project with expediency to make sure that our staff and students are safe. And then finally, I want to give a shout out to Ms. LaTanya Carter, Senior Project Manager of Environmental Compliance, and her team of 174 school-based and operations staff for their fabulous work in preparing 90 district locations for last week's elections. Voting, regardless of how we feel about the results, voting is still both a right and a duty of citizenship. And really, thanks to the hard work of this team, Ms. Carter, City Schools was able to make a substantial contribution to a successful election process in Baltimore City. Again, thank you for that. And this concludes my remarks for this evening. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll now review the consent agenda. Board colleagues, let me know if you would like an item removed. And if you do, please state the question for staff. Item 9.01, gifts and donations. Item 9.02, policy DIC, fiscal management. This is the second reader. Item 12.01, Wilson Language Training Corporation.
Pull, please. Question around the expected impact with the increase.
Hopefully staff heard that from Commissioner Mohammed. Item 12.01, we are pulling. Item 12.02, Tech Row. Thank you. We'll now move into public comment. We'll begin with our recognized groups. We have first, item 7.01, that is the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City. And we have Justin Lyles. Are you all with us? Justin Lyles, who is the chair of a committee, Kamar Goodwin, and Ohima Adalia. Committee members, are you all with us?
Yes, Kamar Godwin.
All right, Kamar,
Yes,
go
I'm
ahead.
with
You
you.
have 5 minutes.
All right, just wanted to ask, did you need me to cut on my camera too?
It would be nice to see you.
All right, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kamal Godwin, and I attend Cotton Academy High School, and I am in the 12th grade. I serve as a member of ASCBC's Legislation Affair Committee. The committee is responsible for monitoring policies at the school board, city, and state level, and planning advocacy actions that align with the ASCBC's goals. Those goals come from 95 student government associations. Thank you for your time, commissioners, Dr. Ash, and also other members of the city school community. I also wanted to say thank you to Justin, who is our committee chair, for his leadership. One of our goals as a committee this year is to prepare all of our members to be able to speak at the board, which is why I'm here tonight. I would like to share some updates on ASCBC's progress this year. All of our committees now have a chair, student members, and annual goals. Students' interest in communications, diversity and equity, legislation affairs, and special events are all welcome to join our committees. All students can participate whether or not they are part of an SGA at their school. We also are excited about the progress made by the youth budget work group, which aims to increase student participation in financial decisions at their school and in their districts. Students, family, and staff should watch for their school's priority engagement meetings, which are happening now. This is an opportunity, for you to be able to share with your principal what you would like the priorities to be on the next year's school budget. You can find meeting dates by asking your principal or looking on the city school website. ASCBC has also added these resources in their tree link in the bio on Instagram at Balt City ASCBC. We believe no decision should be made without us, and so we support and encourage everybody to attend these meetings and to share their needs that they have at their school. To continue on, due to some emergency repairs at our meeting location, our ASCBC's Fall General Assembly was rescheduled for November the 18th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. At this meeting, 50 schools from across the district will be coming together to discuss priorities for student advocacy this year. We look forward to sharing we will look forward to sharing our final issue platform with the board after November 18th. I would like to give a special shout out to all of the 50 schools that will be attending at this General Assembly next week, where they will share their challenges as students and advocate for the change that they want to see in their school life. I will also like to give a shout out to our special guests who will be attending at the General Assembly meetings as well. Even about students thoughts and concerns when it comes to their school life and activities and how we want to shape our future. We are welcome to other boards and city school leadership members to attend and observe next week and our winter and spring meetings. Thank you to all of the school attendants, and thank you to our special guests who will be attending. Thank you for your time and attention. Good evening.
Very nice job, Kamar. Thank you for those remarks.
Thank you.
Now have item 7.02, the Baltimore Teachers Union. This will be a video recorded by Jocelyn Providence, who is the secretary.
Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Providence, and I'm a teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools, and I will be speaking tonight on behalf of the Baltimore Teachers Union. Tonight, I want to talk about the topics of curriculum, equity in athletics, and the importance of the public search for the new CEO. So turning on the TV in America, it is easy to see what sports matter the most, especially this time of year. TV is an important venue, but it is a for-profit way, and they want to support and give recognition to sports that they believe Americans enjoy the most. However, as a public school system, we provide sports as an extracurricular opportunity for students to provide them leadership opportunities, athletic opportunities, and for them to learn important life skills for them to carry throughout their life. So when we unfairly treat our sports, what does that tell our student athletes? Student athletes are not equitably showcased in Baltimore City and are not being equitably supported. How is it decided how many coaching positions are available for different sports? There is a lot of support needed for football players, of course, but how can we make sure that all sports are receiving an equitable amount of coaching and mentorship for support? For example, soccer continues to be a growing sport in our school system, but they do not receive the same level of support. Soccer also tends to be a sport that so many of our multilanguage learners participate in. I have watched in data presentations in this very platform in school board meetings, us observing data that we need more support for our multilingual learners. One way that we can do that is to provide more financial support to coaching staff for soccer teams. Also, there are some sports that are showcased and acknowledged publicly on Baltimore City Public Schools website and in the social media, and some that aren't. You know it is not equitable when students point out the discrepancy, and it is an issue that needs to be dealt with. In regards to the search for our new CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools, it is important that the entire community is actively involved in the process. Currently, we have been informed that there is a process underway, but where are the updates? Updates on the search should not simply rely on word of mouth. The public community should be receiving regular updates in a predictable and official way, because our new CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools will be serving as the leader of our public schools. Can there be a tab on the Baltimore City website where people can go to find the information, to find updates on the process? Can there be biweekly emails sent out or posted on social media with updates? These are just some small suggestions that could help to get us closer to fulfilling the request for public engagement on this very, very important decision for our city schools, but also the Baltimore City community as a whole. Finally, curriculum. I have said multiple times in school board meetings that we need to be investing more in homegrown curriculum. There have been subjects such as math that have curriculums change every 2 or 3 years. Being my 11th year in the district, going through 3+ different curriculums is kind of ridiculous. We have so many tenured and experienced, highly effective teachers in Baltimore City. Some of them are even nationally board certified or becoming nationally board certified soon. We need to invest the millions of dollars that we are spending on outside curriculums into developing our own curriculum for our students in Baltimore City, who we know are unique in their own way. The Be More Me curriculum is a perfect example of the success that can occur when we do this, when we invest in our community, when we invest in the knowledge of our staff. Please, let's involve and regularly update the community on the search for the new Baltimore City CEO. Please, let's treat all of our student athletes with equity and respect. And let's invest in our amazingly talented individuals who work in our schools and teach our students every day. Thank you so much for your time.
I'll now turn it over to the Board Executive Officer for public comment.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Our first public comment is from Lauren Lyde. Agenda topic will be expanded access to arts instruction for Baltimore City School students commenting live in person. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Santalese, Board of School Commissioners, and other leaders. My name is Lauren R. Lyde. I am a teaching artist and have been working with Baltimore City school students for over 10 years. Today, I am here as a member of Baltimore Advocates for Arts Education. Recently, I saw a statement by a BCPS high school student that included the following remarks. As a student attending a Baltimore City public school, I find myself receiving only the bare minimum when it comes to art education. This is really sad, especially considering how passionate I am about the arts. Typically, the extent of my art exposure is limited to just one semester course, often labeled art history. This approach not only undermines the importance of creative expression, but also restricts my ability to explore and develop my artistic skills. As a student deeply interested in the arts, it is incredibly challenging to pursue my dreams when opportunities are so limited. I aspire to not only develop my skills, but also to inspire others to appreciate and engage with the arts. We should all have the chance to expand our creative horizons, regardless of the constraints placed upon us. It is time for educational institutions to recognize the importance of arts education and to provide every student with the resources and opportunities they need to thrive creatively. Talia Whitaker, Paul Lawrence Dunbar, 11th grade. We are disappointed that this student and thousands of others are being denied opportunities that exist in every other school system in Maryland. We understand that some progress has been made, for that which we are thankful, but it is vital that arts access continues to expand for our students. Budget and scheduling guidance is needed from you, our leaders, for substantial and sustainable progress to be made. Every student from at least 5th through 12th grades should have the opportunity to participate in curricular instrumental music programs during the school day. Our high school students need access to a sequential depth of study in their schools and in all arts disciplines, with at least a 100 level course plus 2 additional courses in each, so that they can be college and career ready, competitive, and have opportunities for scholarships. We also hope that you see the need for some type of policy that ensures progress toward equitable arts access continues beyond your current leadership so that efforts, staffing, and funding are not wasted. We hope our concerns will stay on a front burner until they are fully addressed. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Tim Smith. Agenda topic is reaction to closure, commenting live in person. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Smith, and I am the Executive Director of Southwest Baltimore Charter School. And I want to start just by saying that I, along with our entire community, is incredibly disappointed and really sad at the recommendation made tonight to close SBCS. We originally chartered in 2004, and we spent all year celebrating 20 years in service to our community, to our families, and of course to our students. As you can imagine, I have some pretty strong feelings about the report. And I could talk well beyond the 3 minutes that I have right now to talk about the culture and the structure of our school under our current leadership, the strides that we're making with our achievement, and just how proud I am with the direction that our school is heading. And in the coming days and weeks, I look forward to doing that. But right now, I actually want to take my time to say this. We always have, and we will always will put our students and our families first. And the reality right now is that the structural disadvantages to operating as a charter school, particularly as a small single operator school as we are significant and they are growing. And we feel them deeply. And given the direction that we have been heading as a district with decreasing autonomy, increasing costs, decreasing funding, and in our case, the promise to raise our rent by hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to stay in a building that we have already spent more than $2.5 million improving, it is clear to us that continuing to operate as we are currently structured simply might not be in the best interest of our students. And as much as I believe in the direction of our school, and I'm proud of the work that we have done, and I'm really, truly honored to work with the people who I get to see every day, we have to listen to that reality and we have to respond accordingly. So I just really wanted to share this, right? Our number one priority is to keep a school open in our location and operating for the community in Southwest Baltimore. As much as we're concerned about the disadvantages of the current charter system, and we are more concerned about equity, true equity for our community. Every system, even a school system, is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. And closing schools destabilizes communities, it disenfranchises the very people that need them the most. These are the concerns that created SBCS 20 years ago, and these are the current concerns that we're bringing to you now. And it is why that we will prioritize collaborating with this group, with our stakeholders in Southwest Baltimore, with O&I, to find a solution to keep our school open. We know that there is much unknown and uncertainty about the process and what that might look like going forward, but we do know with absolute certainty that keeping our school open is what is in the best interest of our students and the best interest of our city. And we look forward to working collaboratively and productively with all of you to ensure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 3 public comments will need Spanish interpretation. So our Spanish interpreters, thank you. Go ahead and come on up. Our next will be Sandra Martinez, agenda topic, electric school buses, commenting live in person.
Muy buenas noches, junta directiva y presentes.
Good evening, board members and everyone present.
Mi nombre es Sandra Martínez, soy residente de la ciudad de Baltimore.
My name is Sandra Martinez and I'm a resident of Baltimore City.
Y soy madre de 5 hijos.
And I am a mother of 5 children.
3 de ellos asisten a la escuela de la ciudad de Baltimore.
3 of them attend a Baltimore City public school.
Mi hijo mayor está en el grado 11.
My oldest child is in 11th grade.
En la Fundación Academia Nacional.
In the National Academy Foundation.
Mi siguiente hija está en el 8º grado.
My daughter is in the 8th grade.
En la escuela William Baer.
At the William S. Baer School.
Y mi hija menor está en 3er grado.
And my youngest child is in the 3rd grade.
En la Highlandtown Elementary Middle School.
At the Highlandtown Elementary Middle School.
Bien. Hoy les hablo como toda madre profundamente preocupada por la salud de mis hijos.
This evening I speak to you as a mother who is concerned about the health of my children.
Y de nuestra comunidad, claro.
And of course of our community as well.
Uno de mis hijos tiene una discapacidad.
One of my children has a disability.
Con frecuencia experimento problemas de salud.
And frequently has health problems.
A menudo nos lleva a la sala de emergencia del Hospital Johns Hopkins.
And that usually takes us to the emergency room at Johns Hopkins Hospital.
La salud de mi hija es como la de muchos niños.
My child's health is like the health of many other children.
Depende de decisiones como las suyas.
And it depends on decisions that you have to make.
Sobre la transición de autobuses escolares diésel a eléctricos.
Based on the transition of diesel buses to electric buses.
Las emisiones de diésel son especialmente dañinas para la salud de nuestros niños pequeños,
Diesel emissions are very dangerous for the health of our children,
cuyos pulmones y órganos aún están en desarrollo
because our children's lungs and organs are still developing.
y empeoran afecciones como el asma y problemas respiratorios.
And it's also very harmful for conditions like asthma and other respiratory illnesses.
Desafíos que muchas familias, incluidas a las mías,
A challenge that many families, including mine,
enfrentan constantemente.
we face constantly.
Los autobuses eléctricos
Electric buses
significan aire más limpios,
mean cleaner air,
menos visitas al hospital, a las salas de emergencias,
less visits to the emergency room,
menos tasas de ausencias en las aulas escolares.
less missing school.
Baltimore ya ha avanzado con 25 autobuses eléctricos.
Baltimore City has made strides already with 25 electric buses,
Y estoy profundamente agradecida.
and I am deeply thankful for that.
Sin embargo,
However,
todos los niños, incluyendo los míos,
not all children, including mine,
no se benefician todavía.
we have not benefited yet.
Cada niño merece esta protección y un ambiente seguro y limpio.
Each child deserves this protection and a clean and safe environment.
Una forma de garantizar que todos los estudiantes que viajen en autobuses escolares
A way to guarantee that all students that travel in school buses
en la ciudad de Baltimore
in Baltimore City
tengan la oportunidad
is to make sure they have the opportunity
de respirar aire limpio
to breathe clean air
mediante el uso de programas existencias.
through the EPA programs that already exist.
El Departamento de Medio Ambiente de Maryland
And the Department of
Departamento de Ambiente de Maryland.
what is Environment Department, sorry, in Maryland.
Y la Administración de Energía
In the Administration of Energy of Maryland.
Próximamente de Maryland.
And upcoming in Maryland.
Utilidades para financiar la transacción de autobuses escolares y eléctricos.
Utilities to make sure that there's a transition of our school buses to electric buses. Permitir que les demos no se den la interpretación. Esto es ayuda a la interpretación. Vamos a colocar 2 minutos más para la interpretación.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Le insto a aprovechar
I urge you
estos recursos para ampliar
to use these resources to broaden
la flota de
the
autobuses
fleet of buses,
eléctricos
the electric buses,
y comprometerse con una eventual transición
and that you will get engaged and promise to an eventual transition, a full transition
completa para todos los autobuses
for all the entire fleet,
con una eventual transición completa
for a complete transition eventually
para todos los autobuses escolares de la ciudad de
for
Baltimore.
all the school buses in Baltimore City.
No se trata de reasignar fondos de otros programas
It is not about reassigning funds from other programs
o instalaciones críticas.
or any critical installations,
En cambio, estos recursos adicionales
but these additional funds
es al distrito escolar,
are for the school district,
específicamente para un transporte más limpio
specifically for more clean transportation
y saludable para nuestros niños.
that is healthy for our children.
En conclusión,
In conclusion,
proteger la salud de nuestros niños
protecting the health of our children
y construir un futuro sostenible
and building a sustainable future
es un objetivo
is an objective
que podemos lograr juntos.
that we can accomplish together.
Prioricen
Prioritize
los autobuses escolares
the school buses,
eléctricos,
the electrical school
haciéndolos una
buses,
realidad
making them a reality
para todos los niños de la ciudad de
for
Baltimore.
all the children in Baltimore City.
Gracias por su comprensión
Thank you for your understanding.
y por su compromiso
and for your engagement to this,
con una Baltimore más limpia
for a cleaner Baltimore
y saludable.
and healthier Baltimore.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next one will also need Spanish interpretation. Thank you. This will be Clara Gonzalez, agenda topic electric school buses, and we'll be doubling the time.
That's another reason why I don't hang my hat on poles.
Buenas tardes.
Good evening,
Miembros de la Junta y todas las personas presentes.
board members and everyone present.
Mi nombre es Gina Calva.
My name is Gina Calva.
Estoy representando a mi compañera líder de Chispa,
And I am representing my leader from Chispa,
ya que ella no se ha podido presentar el día de hoy
since she's unable to attend today
porque su bebé de 8 años
because her 8-year-old child
ha tenido una crisis de asma.
had an asthma crisis.
Por eso estoy representándola aquí y voy a leer su testimonio.
Therefore, I am representing her here today, and I'm going to read her testimony.
Gracias por darme la oportunidad de hablar con ustedes hoy.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today.
Mi nombre es Marta Orellana
My name is Marta Orellana,
y he tenido el orgullo de llamar hogar a la ciudad de Baltimore durante 16 años.
and I have had the pride to call home Baltimore City as my home for the last 16 years.
Soy madre de 2 maravillosos hijos de 8 y 12 años
I'm a mother of 2 wonderful children, ages 8 and 12,
que asisten a la Hampstead Hill Academy.
who attend Hampstead Hill Academy.
Mi hijo menor tiene asma y autismo,
My youngest child suffers from asthma and autism,
lo que me ha impulsado a abogar por una comunidad más saludable y sostenible.
which has pushed me to advocate for a cleaner and healthier city for everyone,
Para todos nuestros hijos.
for all of our children.
También soy promotora de justicia ambiental con Chispa, Maryland.
I'm also a promoter with environmental justice with Chispa of Maryland,
Un programa de Liga de Votantes por la Conservación de Maryland.
a voting group that tries to conserve Maryland.
En este rol me he enfocado en involucrar a la comunidad en temas como el cambio climático y la salud ambiental.
In this role, I have focused in involving my community to speak about climate change, environmental health, and all the topics that impact our children in their lives.
Temas que impactan profundamente en la vida de nuestros hijos.
These things that impact our children tremendously.
Quisiera comenzar agradeciendo a los miembros de la Junta
I would like to begin by thanking the members of the board
y a los funcionarios de transporte por su liderazgo
and the leaders of the transportation for their leadership
y compromiso para proteger la salud de nuestros hijos.
and their engagement to protect the health of our children.
Hace 2 años, su decisión de solicitar el programa de autobuses escolares
2 years ago, your decision to request the program for cleaner buses from the EPA
limpios de la EPA permitió que la ciudad de Baltimore asegurara 25 autobuses escolares.
allowed that Baltimore City would secure 25 buses or electrical buses.
Tuve el placer de asistir a la ceremonia de presentación de estos autobuses
I had the pleasure to attend the ceremony where these buses were presented
a principios de este año.
in the beginning of the school year or this year.
Y me alegra compartir que uno de ellos ahora transporta a mi hijo a la escuela.
And I am glad to report that one of these buses takes my child to school.
Me da una inmensa tranquilidad saber que él viaja en un autobús más seguro y saludable.
It makes me really happy that my child now is transported in a bus that is much cleaner and safe,
respirando aire limpio, todos los niños en Baltimore.
and that all the children that take these buses are breathing healthier air in Baltimore,
Ya que merecen la misma oportunidad de viajar en autobuses eléctricos y limpios.
as they deserve to travel in buses that are electrical and that are cleaner.
Pero aunque hemos avanzado, aún queda mucho por hacer.
And although we have made strides, there are still much to be done.
Hoy les insto a que sigan adelante aprovechando el máximo de oportunidades de financiamiento actuales.
I plead to you that you take advantage of all the opportunities that are available financially.
El Departamento del Medio Ambiente de Maryland y la Administración de Energía de Maryland
The Environmental Department of Maryland and the Administration of Energy of Maryland
acaban de abrir sus programas para autobuses escolares eléctricos.
just opened their programs for electrical school buses.
Y la EPA
And the EPA
acaba de abrir otra ronda de financiamiento para autobuses escolares eléctricos.
has just opened a new round of financial assistance for more electrical buses.
Si bien hemos logrado un progreso importante,
Since we have made already great strides,
aún hay mucho más que debemos hacer.
we still have much more work to be done.
Hoy les pido respetuosamente que la Junta Escolar aproveche estas oportunidades.
Respectfully, I ask of you today that the board and the school take every advantage to take advantage of this financial assistance.
De financiamiento para expandir nuestra flota
Of financial assistance to expand our fleet of buses.
de autobús. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Es tiempo acá.
Leave that with us.
Si nos puede dejar eso para que puedan revisar esos comentarios, se lo
Ok.
agradeceremos.
Muchísimas gracias por escucharnos.
Thank you for listening to me.
Y solamente pues pedirles que por favor tomen en cuenta nuestras peticiones, que es el pueblo que está hablando aquí.
So please consider these things as it is the people that are speaking here.
Good evening, board members and everyone. My name is Lucia Islas. I am a very proudly an environmental advocate. Today, I will speaking on behalf of my friend who is ill. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Clara Gonzalez, and I have lived in Baltimore City for 8 years. During that time, I have come to see firsthand how essential environmental justice is for our community. As a promotora of environmental justice with CHISPA Maryland, a program of the Maryland League of Conservation Voters, I am dedicated to advocating for policies that protect our environment and prioritize the health and well-being of our communities, especially our children. As a mother of a child with asthma, I know that air quality is critical to my family's health. Diesel's exhaust is a major source of pollution, releasing tiny particles that enter deep into children's lungs and can trigger asthma. In Baltimore City, 20% of children, or about 24,000, have asthma, which is more than double the state's rate. Asthma is also the leading cause of school absenteeism among children. I am here today to speak as a mother who understands the impact that transportation has on air quality and health. That's why I urge you to continue replacing diesel buses with zero-emission electric buses by taking advantage of all available funding from the state and federal agencies. I am grateful for your leadership 2 years ago. We secured funding for the 25 electric school buses, now in use in Baltimore. This was an incredible first step. However, as we all know, this is only the beginning. Today, I ask you to continue showing your leadership and commitment to protecting our children's health by reapplying for EPA funding to further electrify our school bus fleet. Every child in the city should have the right to ride a clean bus to school every day. With a January 9, 2025 deadline approaching, I believe Baltimore has the chance to lead the way in creating a cleaner, healthier future for our children and our city. Let's continue this journey together toward a greener Baltimore. Thank you for your time and consideration. I hope you will deeply consider this request for a healthier future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next public comment is Jose Alvarenga. Agenda topic, coal dust accumulation on school campus. Commenting live in person, you will have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Jose Alvarenga. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I'm a senior at Benjamin Franklin High School. I'm here to speak. I'm here to speak on behalf of my peers about an urgent issue impacting not only our health, but also the future of our communities. We as students have been deeply involved in researching injustices, researching the environmental injustices in our communities. One of those being coal dust pollution affecting our school and others nearby it. This is not just a local problem. This pollution is impacting schools and communities throughout Baltimore and beyond. Trains carrying uncovered coal move through the state of Maryland, through the South Baltimore communities, and to the coal pier in Curtis Bay, with toxic dust that affects all of us. Benjamin Franklin High School is only 3/4 of a mile away from the CSX coal terminal, one of the country's largest coal exporters, accounting for 1/3 of all U.S. exports out of Baltimore. We are not alone. Other schools in the area are breathing in the same harmful coal dust every day. We estimate that 130,000 residents live within 1/3 of a mile from uncovered rail cars or the terminal. We as students have used affordable methods and science to further research this issue. Alongside my peers, we now have a published peer-reviewed research. We now have published the peer-reviewed research that confirmed the presence of coal dust in our environment and at our school. As we are trying to learn and prepare our future, we are constantly breathing in coal dust that's affecting our lives. This is an issue that needs immediate attention and action. We're asking for your support to help ensure that we as students have a safe learning environment, free from pollutants that threaten our health and our future. We're here because we believe that change is possible, and we're committed to being part of the solution. But we can't do it alone. We need the support and action of this board and of everyone who values the well-being of Baltimore students. We brought you all gifts, my friends. We'll now pass you all a brochure that briefly describes all the work and actions that we've been putting into this movement of trying to make a cleaner and a safer environment in Baltimore and its schools. We are asking for members of the school board to come down to our school in Curtis Bay on November 22nd to attend a student-led tour where we can show you what we are dealing with and further just discussion. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll stand with us in creating a safer and cleaner environment in our schools.
We're very proud of you, your advocacy, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Maynard Flores. Agenda topic is the environment, commenting live in person. We'll all have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm also a student in Benjamin Franklin High School, a proud senior. And I wanted to talk more about the coal effects in our community. Benjamin Franklin is uniquely close to the coal terminal. And we have discovered through our research that there is in fact coal dust from the coal terminal coming into our school community. Something that further concerns me is the fact that our school also has a daycare for students who have children. This affects their health alongside the health of the rest of us students. And the coal terminal isn't alone. I'm pretty sure there is around 73 stationary pollutant sources within South Baltimore community. And I do wish to have all of yours support in fighting the toxic environment which our school is located in. The war, I guess, the fight for a cleaner environment isn't one that I expect to win overnight. I don't expect this to go away next year, maybe not even next decade. But I feel it is vital for us as a community to come together and to ensure that the lives, the health, and the future generations will have a cleaner environment to live in. Furthermore, no, sorry, I think that's it. Well, thank you for hearing us.
Thank you all. What I will say, we don't always comment, but we have students here with us. The research that you all have put together is pretty well done. So thank you for giving this to us, and thank you for your advocacy. And I think we already have board members that may be planning to join you all on the 23rd. Okay. What time is the event? On the 22nd.
That is yet to be determined.
Okay. So, yeah, just make sure you share the information with our board executives so that folks can plan the people.
We have our contact information in the brochure.
Yeah.
So feel free to reach out to that.
Absolutely, perfect. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And that was our last public comment.
We're now going to go back to item 12.01, which was pulled by Commissioner Muhammad. That's Wilson Language Training Court. Commissioner, would you just restate your question? I believe it was about the anticipated impact or the increased amount. Is that correct?
Yes, if you can speak towards that expected impact, this would be nearly a 45% increase on the
Good evening, Chair McFadden, board members, and Dr. Santelises. My name is Heather Blackwell. I'm the Director of Literacy here at City Schools. We believe that this increase will allow us to ensure that schools have the ability to purchase above and beyond the larger materials purchase that was made earlier this year. We've continued to see an increase in the number of students who are meeting grade level expectations aligned to foundational literacy, as well as improvement on our MCAT scores. And we attribute much of this work to what we have done around foundational literacy through the use of these Wilson materials over the years. They provide teachers with the tools and resources needed to provide systematic, foundational skills instruction, as well as explicit, deliberate, and multisensory practice for our students. And the increase will allow us to place more of these high-quality instructional materials in the hands of our students and teachers.
I appreciate the response. One, I think that us leaning into the work around science of reading is really important, and really want to support that. And I think it's we need to find other areas to lean in. With this increase, do we have an idea of the amount of schools or the amount of students that we would further be able to positively impact?
So currently, we're using the materials in all of our elementary schools. I believe that what this will allow us to do is for the increasing numbers of students that we have, they will have access to those materials, but also what it will do is allow us to purchase more of the actual text and fluency passages and other things that, as you mentioned, are aligned to the science of reading, to allow us to just dig deeper with those opportunities to ensure that students have the additional practice that they need.
Just writing, if I can receive or receive anything, any more, any further insight into just with the increase being 45%, how that would really play out in our schools with our students. Any other further details you can send in writing, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
This is something that we're supportive of. We're really interested in, if we're making this investment, is this investment really enough? And what it looks like, because if this is working, let's make it work for all of our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Commissioner Mohammed, I would just add for both folks that we should probably include Jalima and Heather within this. One, the schools who had increased student enrollment, so who needed extra materials. And I'm thinking of a good example is Principal Holbrook, who emailed me and let me know that this was important for him because his late arriving students who weren't initially counted, he's now photocopying materials from. I think we should also, and if to Commissioner Mohammed's question about the impact at schools, it would be good to see some delineation of the actual intervention materials if there are others that schools are using.
Yep.
And then, given that you all are the literacy experts in the district, some explanation of when those are being used, because I think the other thing Commissioner Mohammed is pointing to is how we're actually moving young people through various levels. So I'm just adding that to give them some direction in the moment, Commissioner, so they don't have to try to track me down before. But at least from what I'm hearing, does that align, Commissioner, with what you had in mind?
It does, I appreciate it. Definitely along.
Oh, I saw.
No question.
Yeah.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yeah, I saw in here that it has multisensory instruction. What does that look like?
So our students have the opportunity to engage in actual physical practice with letter formation, as well as the use of magnetic boards for manipulating letters and recognizing sounds as well. So they're able to, again, use multisensory means in order to engage in learning their letters, sounds, and words. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And please also forgive me for not presenting a report from the Teaching and Learning Committee, but that was on the procurement agenda, in addition to information presented by staff around our graduation goal update, lining to secondary success and innovation. We had some updates around, yes, ma'am. We had some updates around our on track to graduate work. our ninth grade, on track to graduate, staff members that have been supporting. So the team has given an overview. We did have some conversation and discussion around our graduation rate generally being flat for some time. But the work that folks are doing, especially post-pandemic, you know, is folks are working to move that work forward and to really see some significant growth for our children and for our city's sake. And then there was also a presentation around continuous improvement that also aligns to the work with secondary success. One thing that I just want to, and Commissioner Redding Lallinger chime in as well from the Teaching and Learning Committee, that we really encouraged our staff to do was to look at high school, similarly to what we heard tonight with the fine arts, pushing more work around fine arts in our high schools as we do have a fine arts strategic plan. So that's some of what was lifted in our Teaching and Learning Committee meeting last week. Anything additionally, Redding Lallinger? Thank you, and please forgive me for omitting that. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Robert.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito and Neon Readiness. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Better,
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad,
Yes.
Commissioner Redding Lallinger,
Yes.
Mayor Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. We are now going to move into item 10.01, which is our annual school review introduction. I know that we have several staff members who are ready to present to us this evening. And if anyone needs a stretch break, we should probably do that now. Dead serious. Okay, I'm a live serious. Look at that.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Gershberg. I'm the Director of Facilities Planning and Strategy within the Operations Department.
Good evening, Teresa Jones, Chief Achievement and Accountability Officer.
Good evening. I'm Lindsay Anderson. I'm a manager in the Office of New Initiatives.
And I'm Angela Alvarez. I'm the Senior Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives. Good evening, everyone. I need to join the virtual meeting. Give me 1 second. All right, and tonight we are going to be presenting the 24-25 recommendations for annual review. And hopefully, I don't know what just happened. Oh. My computer's tired too, apparently. So we're just going to jump in. I'm going to go past the agenda. This year's recommendations, they really connect to all of the board priorities, but most closely to priority 3, which is to make sure our students or staff are housed in high quality modernized facilities that support their success and that they have resources that support their success. Priority 4, that we effectively engage all stakeholders, including parents, families, and caregivers, and community partners. This is the beginning of a process that will have a lot of community input throughout it, and there are components of the process that have already had input that we'll talk through as we go through. It also connects to priority 5 around making sure we have equitable access to district services, resources, and facilities. Priority 6, increasing the number of educational programming while ensuring that all schools, including charters, guarantee a high quality educational experience. And priority 7, that we're working continuously through equity in all levels by implementing and how we implement our policies, practices, and procedures. One of our core beliefs that undergirds this work is that all students in city schools deserve a high quality education and healthy facilities that support teaching and learning. The board and members in this room heard a lot of testimony tonight that actually connects to the things that we think are important as well. We heard testimony about the importance of art education, varied art education, and we're going to talk about what happens when schools are not able to do that. We talked about the importance of health and the environment, and so being in healthy facilities. And we've talked about earlier that I heard testimony about the number of schools that we've closed. And we've done that in a process that's different in other places, and I don't want us to forget it. Most of the change that we've been undergoing for the last 10 years has been to implement the 21st Century Building School Plan, a monumental plan that few other places have across the country. They look to us. And we've pushed those resources into communities that have had the least investment because we have a commitment to all of our students, and we believe that our communities that have the least investment should be first. Our facilities in many parts of the city is the only testament to a level of care for our community. And we have that, we're going to continue in that commitment. And so as we go through the recommendations, I don't want us to forget the context, the full context, which includes opening, combining, and pushing additional resources so students have strong outcomes and strong opportunities.
Okay. All right. So the original commitment of the 21st.
Give us 1 second. I want to make sure that everyone who's joining us virtually, that you are muted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the original commitment of the 21st Century Buildings Plan was to renovate or replace every school building. As the project evolved and it became more evident that decisions had to be made due to limited funding, the district chose to prioritize schools that were in communities where there was historical disinvestment, closures and mergers, and overcrowding. This map shows our major projects on our Community Conditions Index. It's a tool that displays historical investments by geography, broken out into 4 levels. Almost 70% of the schools renovated or replaced under the 21st Century Buildings Plan are located in communities with historically low levels of investment. City Schools has made great strides in increasing the number of seats in 21st century learning environments. By the time Built to Learn projects are completed in 2030, almost half of City Schools children in City Schools owned buildings will be in new or renovated facilities. The overall utilization in 23-24 for completed major projects was 95%. This is Cross Country Elementary Middle, which opened just this past January. It's our newest facility to open, and we are very excited about it. Upcoming openings of major projects are going to be the next several slides. They're mostly in order by time of opening. So Furley is a replacement school opening August 2025. Marie G. Faring has 2 projects. They have an early learning annex opening August 25 and a 2-story modular opening January 26. Vanguard Middle School is going to be relocating to the renovated Northeast Middle Building August 26. And then Commodore John Rogers will be moving back to their replacement building, January 27. Armistead Gardens has a phased on-site renovation addition project. So they're not off-site right now, but the project will be completed August 27. City Springs has a replacement building opening January 28. The Frederick Douglass campus, hosting Frederick Douglass High School and Joseph Briscoe High School, will open August 26. City College is slated to open August 28. Western's renovation will be complete August 28, and Polly's will finish 2030. So a lot of projects that we have in the queue.
The approach we take to this process is grounded in equity, as the prior slides demonstrate. And so we're always thinking about the equity questions that we as city schools use to make difficult decisions, potential impacts, unintended consequences, making sure we're talking to all the folks, we're getting everybody in the room, and that we're identifying barriers and solutions to mitigate those barriers. We also understand the context matters. So we're always thinking about the historical context on which our schools and our communities are situated, as well as what our schools mean to the communities that they serve, and how we disrupt some of the power dynamics that lead us to some of these difficult decisions. And then we have certain guiding principles that undergird the work. And I started with that. Every child in our district deserves to be in a high quality education in a healthy facility that supports teaching and learning. That we need to invest resources first in those who have had the least investment, that the historical context matters, that we should have a approach that uses continuous improvement so that we're always getting better, and that we should only make changes if certain preconditions exist. And those include that we have strong leadership, that we have a facility that not only has the capacity for more students, but that we have the resources to improve that facility, and that we have strong partnerships that we align within those school communities that go through that change.
We know that our school buildings are more than just buildings to our communities, that they're places where people connect, places where people feel a sense of community, and then that extends over generations. And so when we have to make a major change, that comes with 2 to 3 years of transition support. So what that support looks like, it starts with transition meetings with the school communities that are impacted. So we partner with parents, with teachers, with community partners, and with students on what the transition looks like and what we need to prioritize. We work with other city agencies on things like making sure student walk paths are safe, making sure that we're addressing all of the issues that are outside of our control at city schools. We align internal resources here at city schools and also external resources, working with local foundations to bring in extra resources and other partners. We will host specific events with the school communities to build community among all the schools affected and help parents become familiar with their new school community, and then providing support to existing academic programs. So making sure that we're strengthening the academics in the schools that we are combining into. So these next couple slides will illustrate that transition. The historic Samuel Coleridge Taylor merged with a section of the Utah Marshburn zone. Their first year as a combined school was 2023-24. So we saw that their enrollment increased by 21%. And that's significant because that means that all of the students at Samuel Coleridge Taylor were beneficiaries of increased per student funding that the school leader could use to strengthen her program. Students have access to after school programming through the Y of Central Maryland, in-school tutoring support, and a variety of clubs at the school, in addition to a full course of elective courses. In 2023, we went through a renaming process with Samuel Coleridge Taylor. They renamed their community center after Teresa Marshburn, who was the parent, community activist, and crossing guard that Utah Marshburn was named after. And then in spring 2024, our partners the Ravens and Heart of America did a complete school makeover at Samuel Coleridge Taylor. So last spring, they touched many major spaces in the school community, including painting classrooms, creating a VIP lounge for students, doing work on the playground and in the landscaping. But most importantly to us was they renovated the Teresa Marshburn Center, and it included a new mural of Teresa Marshburn, which the picture here is showing. So it's really a place that honors her legacy. We hung some artifacts that came over from Utah Marshburn. And so this is an example of how we are maintaining the legacy of our schools that we lose, and also the people that they're named after when we do this work. In spring 2024, Samuel Coleridge Taylor was awarded a Maggie McIntosh Art Center grant to renovate their auditorium and their auditorium foyer. So that work is happening now.
You should have an opening on the auditorium next month, so let's stay tuned for a date.
Augusta Fell Savage just this last year combined with Bluford Drew Jemison STEM Academy. So this is their first year together. So this transition is still happening, but we know that 62% of the rising 9th through 12th graders from Bluford Drew Jemison came over to Augusta Fells after their school closed over this last summer. Augusta Fells has increased its AP course offerings, so the Bluford Drew Jemison students who came over are accessing those, as well as the existing Augusta Fells students. The school also added a full-time librarian to support literacy across the school, and added photography and digital media courses to both increase their arts offerings and also kind of bridge the art and the STEM focus that both schools had. This year, we're working on creating a combined school culture and honoring the legacy of Bluford Drew Jemison. We brought over a really important partner, Redesigning Minds, who provided male mentoring to male students at Bluford Drew Jemison. That organization is now mentoring male students at Augusta Fells Savage, including students who went to BDJ last year. The school will go through a renaming process this spring to determine how the combined school can reflect the legacy of both schools and the historic African Americans that they're named after. So students, families, teachers will decide on a new name for the school. Facilities improvements that we did over the summer include a brand new health suite and a school-based health center, upgrades to several classrooms, including new flooring, lighting, and painting, and this included enhancements to their art classrooms, which were much needed, security enhancements, and an upgrade to the PA system. Their school received a Maggie McIntosh Art Center grant in this last fall. We announced this, so they'll be getting renovations to their art gallery spaces that feature student work, and that construction will start in the spring.
So now we're going to start to get into the recommendations. Some of the things that undergird how we look at it from a data perspective is we're trying to understand the academic performance of schools, as well as access students have to academic programs, quality, climate indicators and availability of supports, access, quality, and distribution of school programming, and making sure that students across geographies as well as populations have access. School enrollment and school size. That's important because that plays a role in a school's ability to afford programming. Building utilization and condition. When schools are under 60% utilized, as we're relying on state funding for taking care of our building, it's hard to get approval. We won't get approval if they're under 60% utilization. And so we have many systems within our schools that are well past their life cycles that our facilities team does an incredible job of maintaining. Actions necessary for implementing the 21st Century School Buildings Plan and operator renewal. And this year we have 18 schools that are up for renewal. And Chair is not in the room. He said to me at the beginning of this, "Are you guys going to be able to do this?" And I said, "We'll be fine." And it's been, we're being fine, but it's been a lift. So tonight we're announcing the recommendations publicly. So this kicks off the engagement process. For our operator schools that are going through renewal, there'll be 2 work sessions. Each school is assigned to a specific date. They'll have their chance to present to the board December 4th and 5th from 5:30 to 7:30. These are open to the public, but only operators and the people they designate can speak during the allotted time. There'll be 2 hearings for our recommendations that impact traditional schools or for any schools that have closure recommendations. So December 12th and January 9th are the 2 dates from 5:30 to 7:30. All 3 of these meetings will be virtual meetings, and then the board will vote on January 14th.
So our first recommendations are amendments to Exhibit 6. Exhibit 6 is part of the MOU that governs the 21st Century School Buildings Plan. As a part of that plan, city schools are required to surplus 26 buildings back to the city of Baltimore. We can make amendments to Exhibit 6 as our needs change, as long as 26 buildings remain on the list. And to date, we've surplused 23 of the 26 buildings. So our first amendment to Exhibit 6 is to recommend changing the surplus date of the Thurgood Marshall Building from 2027 to 2026. Furley Elementary School and Vanguard Collegiate Middle School are currently using Thurgood Marshall Building as their swing space, while their permanent schools are under construction. You saw that a few slides ago. In 2023, the board voted to push the surplus date to 2027 because we thought we may need to use the building for City College as a swing space while their building is renovated. Since then, swing plans have changed and construction schedules have changed. And so we're recommending to actually move the surplus date to 2026. So we will not need it after Furley and Vanguard move back into their buildings. The next recommendation is around the Southeast Middle Building. The Southeast Middle Building has been used as swing space for several schools while their permanent buildings are renovated. Commodore John Rogers is currently using the Southeast Middle Building as swing space until they move back into their new building in January 2027. However, we know the population is growing in the southeast area of the city, and so we'd like to recommend removing the Southeast Building from Exhibit 6 so that we can use it as a new school in that area once it's no longer needed for swing space. The Joseph C. Briscoe Academy is going to be co-located with Frederick Douglass when the Frederick Douglass building renovation is complete. So we will no longer need the Joseph Briscoe building once those schools move into the renovated Douglass building. And so we're recommending to remove the Southeast Building from Exhibit 6 and replace it with the Joseph Briscoe building.
So the next recommendation involves our traditional schools. And so we have a recommendation to close Edgewood Elementary School and combine it with Glens Falls Elementary School for the majority of students with a small portion to Windsor Hills Elementary Middle School. Geographically, we would split the zone. More students live closer to Glens Falls, so that's why the student pop is not evenly divided. But we would geographically split the zone between the 2 schools and then surplus the building back to the city of Baltimore in summer 2025 after it's no longer needed for educational purposes. Some of the considerations: Edgewood has been our smallest elementary school serving students in grades pre-K through 5 for a very long time, and enrollment has continued to decline. And so the ability for the school leader to be able to afford all the programming that her students deserve and all that she wants to give them is very challenged because of the size of the school. She's an incredible leader. And so even with all of those challenges, she has produced really strong MCAT results at her school. Her school's a 3-star school on the Maryland report card. Her school is also home to many of our early learning citywide programs, including Let's Grow, Early Learning Environment, Early Therapeutic Environment, as well as an elementary citywide program called Pride for students in grades 1 through 5. And so if this is approved, we would relocate those programs to nearby schools, including the schools that are receivers. Both Glens Falls and Windsor Hills are also 3-star schools. Glens Falls is a community school with the Wise Central Maryland as its lead agency. It's an intensive social emotional learning site. It offers after-school programs such as Springboard and Literacy Connections, tutoring in math. But it was small too. So this would benefit all three communities if this is approved. Windsor Hills Elementary Middle, a community school with City Schools as the lead agency. It's also an intensive wholeness site, and it offers after-school programming through the Family League, Springboard, and literacy tutoring through the Literacy Lab.
So this shows the enrollment of Edgewood Elementary over time. And while we frequently look at the total number because we're looking at it from a utilization standpoint, we really have to start looking at it at the individual grade level. You'll see that there are certain grades this year where the enrollment is so low, but even with the enrollment that low, you still need to provide a teacher for that class. And so it really starts to spread out the resources. This is the overall enrollment over time going back to school year 06-07, and it's really reflective of the demographic patterns we've seen happening in West Baltimore with a large population loss. These are the enrollments for Edgewood as well as for the adjacent schools we're proposing to absorb those students, Glens Falls and Windsor Hills. This is a map showing the proposed boundary change. It's a lot going on. The dotted lines show the walking radius around Windsor Hills and Glens Falls. The boundaries we proposed will minimize the impact on transportation, since that is something that the district struggles with. The heat map, the concentrations are the Edgewood students. So you could see the larger portion closer to Windsor Hills.
This shows the comparison of the performance for schools. So you can see the earlier MCAP results that I referenced at Edgewood. And I should say, I didn't say this at the start, part of this recommendation is to combine the full staff. So we have two very strong school leaders who have incredible staff. And so we believe that we can bring most of them together. So that'd be part of the goal, so that the team that had the incredible results are part of, continue to be part of the serving the student population. This just shows the math results. Here is where Windsor Hills is the stronger school in terms of MCAP results. So a lot of opportunity for best practices to be shared across the school communities as we work to, if the board approves this, and as we work to build community amongst them. This is showing on the Maryland State Report Card, which also kind of assesses school quality. They have similar, not just similar, the same ratings, but a similar amount of points earned. All right. So that's the end of our recommendations for traditional schools. We're going to transition to our recommendations for renewal schools. So our operator renewal process originally developed in 2012 in partnership with operators, organizations like Supporting Public Schools of Choice, Maryland Charter Network, and district staff. We created a process that balance quantitative and qualitative information to get at the complexity of schools. Every one of our schools, I think this is a lucky thing about how Maryland works, have people that are serious about the work that we do for students. It may not always work, but we have committed people that are really trying to do their best. And so it's really hard when we share these recommendations, because especially when there are negative recommendations, because we have people who really care and show up every day for students. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that at the beginning of this. This process involves a lot of people to support it, because we had 18 schools. We had a total of 40 reviewers assisting with the advisory board to be able to review all the applications. And so it's been a big year. In the renewal, where we're in the penultimate year of a school's contract, there are 4 possible outcomes. A 3-year renewal, which is considered a partial renewal, a 5-year renewal, which is considered a full renewal, an 8-year renewal, which is considered an extended renewal. It's only eligible to schools who've had 2 consecutive 5-year renewals and who are effective or highly effective in each of the key areas that we've reviewed. And then finally, non-renewal and or closure.
So when we take a look at the operative renewal process, that's, let me try. Okay, I think that might work a little better. So in terms of the process, so I just want to acknowledge that there are multiple levels of reviews that are involved in the process. For the first level of review, we engage with the Charter and Operator-led Advisory Board. Again, we have representation across multiple organizations, numerous community organizations, inclusive of nonprofits, school operators, as well as district representatives. The function of this board, in part, is to provide advice to the CEO when it comes to renewal recommendations. And as Executive Director Alvarez mentioned earlier, this is also where we draw from numerous reviewers for the applications. And they also have the benefit then of analyzing the data. They take a look at the renewal, the matrix, all of these various inputs to develop their recommendation. They make their recommendation to our Chief Executive Officer. She in turn also takes a look at the quantitative and qualitative data, and then she does her own administrative review and ultimately makes recommendations to the board. Ultimately, the decisions are those of the board. So the Board of School Commissioners ultimately has to review the recommendations and rationale. They also have the benefit of reviewing the operative renewal reports. They also benefit from hearing testimony from various stakeholders, inclusive of the operators, as well as members of the broader communities that would be impacted. And then as we go through this process, all of this has to be done in accordance with the state's guidelines around the reviews, the hearings, so on and so forth, so that we make sure that all of the information is captured appropriately on the official record. There are factors that are named in our policy and administrative regulation, and we then ensure that those are adhered to when the decisions are made.
This is just a recap of the timelines I'm going to push us through. And these are the schools that are up for renewal, and we're going to go right to the first school. So first is, and Teresa and I are going to go back and forth. So the first school up for review is Baltimore Design School. It's a middle high located in East Baltimore. It opened in 2011. It's had 2 prior consecutive full-term renewals. It's being recommended for an 8-year renewal. It's effective in all 3 key areas. Notably, it's highly effective in ELA 10, where the average learner is a proficient learner, indicating they demonstrate the required knowledge and skills expected for their grade level. 60% of students reach proficiency, which is 33.4 percentage points higher than the median for schools with similar poverty. You're going to hear us reference that comparison a lot. There is a relationship between absolute performance on state assessments and the relative wealth of a school. And so when you do a comparative for that, you control for the impact of poverty and start to see the results of the school. They're highly effective in the 4-year cohort grad rate with a 3-year average of 98.7%. 2 of those years, they were at 100%, including the most recent grad rate. They're highly effective on the 5 essentials. Schools that are schools that are organized for success are 10 times more likely than other schools to improve student outcomes. They're effective in chronic absence. They're highly effective in fidelity to charter. Not only are they looking at their data and tackling it seriously, and they have challenges. 8-year does not mean perfection. Middle grades is an area where they're working. But they also make sure our students have real professional opportunities in architecture, fashion design, and graphic design and interactive media. And I couldn't put this on the slide, but I just want to note this too. It's just too much. Their college and career readiness is really strong as well. And I want to note it sometimes when with that measure, schools can get credit if a student participates and has success in CTE, AP, IB, SAT, dual enrollment, or AP, and then it also looks at enrollment into college 16 months after graduation. And many times schools will pick one or two of those things to focus on. But you'll notice when you review Baltimore Design's report, they have students participating in all of that, CTE, dual enrollment across the board. And so I found that really a model. Other schools should look to do something similar.
For our next school, we're going to take a look at Baltimore Montessori Public Charter School. This school is operated by Baltimore Montessori, Inc. It is a pre-K through 8 school with enrollment of roughly 604 students. And as we take a look at the recommendations here this evening, we'll note that the school has had 2 prior partial renewals, but those were not consecutive renewals. The school was also opened in 2008. As we take a look at the summary of the recommendations, we'll note first and foremost for student achievement, they were in the developing category. They were all then in the effective categories for both climate as well as finance and governance. Effective is the highest rating available for the finance and governance category. And the recommendation is a 3-year renewal with conditions. Again, we'll share some of the highlights from the review of their data and their application. They were developing in their English language arts performance in both ELA grade band 3 to 5 and math 3 to 5, and for English language arts for the middle grades, grades 6 through 8. We take a look at how that is reported. We take a look at what the average student's performance level is. This was a level 2, which is indicative of a developing learner. And that also then means that the students have had partial proficiency but need additional academic support in order to be successful in the next grade. When it comes to effective programming for all student racial and ethnic groups, they were rated developing. This is a measure that it pertains to students that have a diverse population, and is intended to take a look at whether or not there are achievement gaps between student groups and whether or not the quality programming is being provided for all groups, as well as taking a look at the processes and practices that they're using to address any identified gaps to ensure high achievement for all students. When we take a look at the school effectiveness review measures, this again is a qualitative review that is a school site visit that ultimately results in a report and ratings in multiple domains. In this case, they were effective or highly effective in 3 of the 4 measures, notably talented people, strategic leadership, and professional management. And they were also rated effective or highly effective in 9 of the 12 key actions that fall under those measures. Essentially what that means is that there is evidence that they have had effective school practices or systems that have been implemented at levels that indicate that they are improving their overall effectiveness, and where there is highly effective ratings that also indicates that there is a strong or significant or sustainable impact on the school's effectiveness. Noting in this case that the recommendation does come with conditions. The condition that's being recommended really has to do with how they're handling enrollment their request for enrollment increases, noting that the school would not increase in enrollment beyond their current enrollment, inclusive of all students, including pre-kindergarten.
Next is Bard High School Early College. It's a high school located in West Baltimore and opened in 2015. It had 1 prior full renewal. BARD is effective in student achievement in finance and governance. They're developing in climate. They're highly effective in ELA 10, where the average student is a proficient learner, meaning they demonstrate the required knowledge and skills expected. 53.1% of students reach proficiency, which is 26.2 points higher than the median of schools with similar poverty. They're effective in their 4-year cohort graduation rate with a 89.2% 3-year average. They're effective in college and career readiness. They are the school that is at the 100th percentile. They're developing in suspensions, and so while they're aware of their data and are implementing strategies, they're not yet proven effective, so it's trending in the wrong way. And they were also developing in 2 of the 4 school effectiveness review measures, highly effective in instruction and talented people. And so developing in an SCR means that a key action, including some of its indicators, is a practice or system that is emerging, but is not yet implemented at a level that has begun to improve effectiveness. As a school that has mostly people with terminal degrees, I think they're still learning how to give feedback to improve in a K-12 setting, which is an adjustment. And I think the review brought that up. I think that's also where we see the climate adjusting to that change.
Did you mention that it's a 3-year renewal recommendation?
I think so. 3 years ago recommendation, just to be on the record.
Great, thank you. Okay, so for the next school, we're going to take a look at the Bel Air Edison School. This is operated by AFIA Baltimore. It is a pre-K through 8 school with roughly 910 students enrolled last year, or excuse me, estimated for this year. We take a look at this particular school. It was converted to a charter school in 2016. Previously, it was the Brims Lane Elementary School. At the time, it was one of the lowest performing schools in the district for several years. This was the AFIA Baltimore was the operator that emerged and wanted to pull the school together and merge the elementary school with the middle school program that was called AFIA Public Charter School. This school has one prior renewal, and that was a 3-year renewal with conditions. The recommendation for Bel Air Edison is a 3-year renewal with conditions. They were rated developing in the categories of student achievement and climate and effective in the finance and governance category. Highlights include a developing rating for their MCAP absolute performance, for their elementary grades for ELA and math, and then for their middle grades for ELA. Noting that students were at that developing learner level, indicative of having partial proficiency. However, for math in the middle grades, they were rated not effective, which indicates that students are at that beginning learner level and in need of substantial academic support to be prepared for the next grade level. When it comes to school effectiveness review, they were rated effective in 3 of the 4 areas: talented people, vision and engagement, and strategic leadership and professional management, as well as in 8 of the 12 related key actions. Again, this means that the practices or systems have been adopted and are being implemented in a way that is improving the effectiveness of the school. When it comes to suspensions, they were given an effective rating. We did note that there have been decreases in suspensions, and there has been a focus on intentional strategies that support both students and staff in this area. Notably, from 22-23 to school year 23-24, there's a little typo there, just make note of that, 23-24. The school has decreased its suspensions rates, and that for the middle grades, their most recent suspensions rate is 12.7 points lower than the district average. Again, because there are conditions associated with this recommendation, those conditions actually have to do with a focus on improvement in their student achievement on the MCAP assessments. So while they did raise overall proficiency in ELA 3 to 5 from 8.1% when PARCC was introduced back in 2019 to 18.7% now in the MCAP in 2022, we also noted that in absolute math that there was improvement in 2022 from the 5.4% proficiency rate to 7.6%. However, the results have been mixed since then, and noting that the most recent results are indeed above the median of similar schools. So again, just want to make note of that for the record.
So that's the result of the current conditional. What's being recommended is to continue with the conditions and that they receive mostly effective or highly effective in the next renewal, that they continue. We're seeing improvement, and so that's what that means. Next is City Neighbors Charter School. It's located in the Northeast. It's an elementary middle school that opened in 2005. It's had both full and partial renewals. It's currently in a 3-year with conditions. It's effective in each key area: student achievement, climate, and financial management and governance. It's recommended for 3 years, and I'll explain why as we go through. The school is highly effective in its MCAP growth measures. And for ELA 4.5, where they're in the 84th percentile, ELA 6.8, where they're in the 86th percentile, Math 45, where they're in the 86th percentile, and Math 6.8, where they're in the 94th percentile. They're effective in MCAP absolute performance, where the average student is performing at a level 2, indicating partial proficiency, but where they're 15.6 percentage points higher than the median of similar schools with 45.8% students reaching proficiency. They're effective in MCAP absolute for math with 23.9% of students reaching proficiency, which is 5.7 percentage points higher than the median. They're developing an effective programming for all student racial ethnic groups. This was a part of their condition. They're in a conditional renewal. And so they've taken it really serious. They've implemented practices across different areas that are tied to research. So they've had a real focus on increasing rigor and doing a lot of professional development with their staff to make sure they're using appropriate curriculum. They've diversified their curriculum so it reflects their student population. They've diversified their staffing to reflect their student population, both in terms of their teaching staff and school leadership, but also in terms of their board, making sure that they had more board members that reflected their community. And so they've done a lot of work. In terms of conditions, the results are mixed. And so for their math student growth percentile, they moved up from the 44th to the 59th percentile. For their Black students, which is higher than the median at the 43rd percentile. But in ELA, they dropped from the 54th percentile to the 41st percentile. So more work to do, but I think they took the conditions really seriously, and you're starting to see some of that effort. They're recommended for a 3-year renewal because they're not effective in effective programming for students with disabilities, which looks at the extent to which the school has demonstrated a strong trajectory of growth, is aware of its data and responsibilities to students with disabilities, and has effectively and consistently implemented processes, interventions, and strategies to support student outcomes. There has been compliance reviews that have found significant issues that impact the delivery of services to students in terms of their compliance, and that has resulted in free and public education, or FAPE, the need for FAPE evaluations to determine if FAPE was missed. Fairly recently, there has been some improvement in their practices moving forward, but this is the reason why they're recommending for a 3-year renewal.
We also have City Neighbors Hamilton with the renewal recommendation this evening. This is also operated by City Neighbors Foundation, pre-K to 8 school. This school was opened in 2009, and it has had both full and partial renewals as a part of its renewal history. Currently, they're in a 3-year renewal, which was the maximum that particular year due to the impact of COVID. And so that was factored into the renewal process. For Hamilton, City Neighbors Hamilton, there's a 5-year renewal recommendation. They were rated effective in all 3 categories as noted. Their highlights include several highly effective ratings. First in their ELA middle grades math, growth for math and ELA. So you'll see that they were noted in the 80th percentile for ELA, in the 87th percentile for mathematics. And when we take a look at what that growth measure tells us, it gives us a sense around what the individual student level improvement has been year over year. When we take a look at their absolute performance, they were developing across the board. Again, in this case, with that average performance level, putting them in that level 2, the developing learners category, indicative of need of additional support because they have partial proficiency. They were highly effective on the 5 essential survey, which is an indication that they are well organized for success. And they were also rated highly effective in suspensions and chronic absence. These are 2 measures that are reviewed qualitatively, even though we do have quantitative data that helps us understand the incidence of these things in the schools. And when we take a look at their history here, what we noted is that they've remained low in these areas throughout their contract term and are well below the district averages based on the grade band served. And so they actually attributed the success to the strength of its model around the elevation of student engagement, relationships, and parent and school partnership.
City Neighbors High School. High school opened in 2010. It's had 2 prior full-term renewals. It's effective in student achievement, climate, and finance and governance. Is recommended for an 8-year renewal. They're effective in NCAP Absolute for the ELA 10, where the average student is performing at a level 2. However, the student proficiency is 33.3%, which is 6.4 percentage points higher than the median for schools with similar poverty. They're not effective in MCAP Absolute performance for algebra, where students are performing at the beginning learner level. They're effective in their 4-year cohort grad rate with a 3-year average of 87.5%. And that grad rate has increased over time. Their most recent 2023 grad rate was at 90%. They're highly effective in the 5 essentials, which again indicates they're well organized for success and 10 times more likely than other schools to improve outcomes for students. And they're effective in each of the 4 school effectiveness review measures: highly effective instruction, talented people, vision and engagement, and strategic leadership and professional management. This means that the school is implementing and has adopted practices at a level that is improving the school's effectiveness.
The next recommendation is for City Springs Elementary Middle School. It is operated by the Baltimore Curriculum Project. It is a pre-K through 8 school with roughly 480 students enrolled. It was originally a traditional school and became a charter school in 1997 and has a history that's inclusive of both full and partial renewals. They're currently in a 3-year renewal. The recommendation is for a 3-year renewal based on the following summary of ratings. They were effective in the categories of student achievement in finance and governance and developing in climate. Their highlights include an effective rating when it comes to MCAT absolute performance for elementary English language arts. Students are performing at a level 2 or developing learner level, indicative of partial proficiency. They had 27% of students reaching proficiency of this test on this particular test, which is 13 percentage points higher than the median for their particular poverty comparison group's proficiency rate. When it comes to absolute performance, they were rated developing in these 3 areas: English language arts for grades spans 6 to 8, math 3 to 5, and math 6 to 8. In this case, again, level 2 developing learner is the level of average learner proficiency. Again, their proficiency rates were actually higher than the median for schools with similar poverty, particularly in math 3 to 5 and math 6 to 8. On the 5 essential survey, they were rated highly effective, again, based on their results indicative that they are well organized for success. And as Angela has noted, that does tell us, based on research, that they are 10 times more likely than less organized schools to improve their student outcomes. When it comes to fidelity to charter and application overall, they received an effective rating, noting that their school's mission is clear to most stakeholders, and that is, reflected in us triangulating the data across multiple inputs, and then that they have also implemented effective strategies to affect the challenges that their data has brought to light. We noted that their mission is to improve student outcomes, raise educational standards, and increase access to opportunities. Their design elements include direct instruction, restorative practices, and core knowledge. And they also conduct weekly reviews of cohort and individual student data. And their staff action teams are a key contributor factor of how they operate. And then they also have quarterly goal setting meetings to address challenges in their data.
Next is Connections, the community-based arts school. They're in West Baltimore. They opened in 2002. The school has had multiple partial renewals and is currently in a 3-year renewal with conditions. They're rated developing in student achievement and climate and effective in financial management and governance. They're recommended to continue with 3 years in the same conditions around improving student achievement and maintaining high grad rate. They're effective in MCAP absolute performance for ELA 10. Again, their average learner is a developing learner, meaning partial proficiency, with 28% of their students reaching proficiency for this test, which is 8.3 percentage points higher than schools with similar poverty. They're developing in MCAP performance for their ELA 6-8, with, again, that partial proficiency. They're not effective in MCAP absolute performance for math and algebra, so this needs to be an area of focus in the next contract term. They were effective in 3 of the 4 school effectiveness review measures: talented people, vision and engagement, and strategic leadership and professional management, as well as in 8 of the 12 key actions. This again means they're adopting practices and implementing systems at a level that is improving their effectiveness. In terms of their current conditions, I mentioned when many of the schools have conditions, when they went through conditions was before we implemented MCAP. So we had PARCC data. And so their condition was just to improve on the state assessment and then to also increase their 4-year cohort grad rate. So they did raise overall MCAP proficiency in English language arts for their middle grades and as well as for their high school at the ELA 10. So all of those increased over time. Math is a real area that really need to focus on. So there has been minimal or no real improvement in mathematics. In terms of grad rate, in 2019, when they got those conditions, they had a 60% grad rate. And they rose it to 71.1% in 2023. If you looked at 3 of those 4 years that exist between now and then, every year they had a grad rate of 70% or higher, except in 2022 where it fell to 52.6%. But they rebounded. They went back up from those lower levels by 19.1 percentage points to get that 71.1%, which is their current grad rate.
The next recommendation is for Creative City Public Charter School, operated by Creative City Public Charter Foundation. It is a pre-K through 5 school with roughly 210 students enrolled. The school opened in 2013 and has had a history of multiple partial renewals. It is currently in a 3-year renewal with conditions. The recommendation is to have a 3-year renewal. Nope, this is not the right slide. Oh, that's okay. So for Creative City, there is actually a non-renewal recommendation for the operator for the school to close at the end of 2025. Received developing ratings across all 3 categories. The notable highlights in terms of the review are as follows. They were not effective when it comes to ELA performance in the MCAP growth measure for English language arts. They were in the 47th percentile in the district, and then for the middle grades, it was the 26th percentile. Again, this is the growth measure that allows us to take a look at how individual students have performed relative to their peers across the state. When it comes to absolute performance, they were rated developing for ELA 3 to 5 and math 3 to 5. Again, they were in that level 2 category of developing learners. That was the average, and that's indicative of partial proficiency. When we look at the 5 essentials survey, they were assigned a developing rating here. Their results indicate that they are partially organized for success. And there is a finding that a school that is moderately organized means that the school is performing at the average level and falling within the middle range when it comes to compared to other schools, and that there are functional systems in place. There is room for improvement in key areas. They were rated not effective in programming for students with disabilities. Again, when we take a look at this measure, we're looking at the trajectory of growth and support as it relates to students with disabilities in terms of the awareness of their data, how they have been implementing their processes, interventions, and strategies to support the student outcomes for this student population. Through the Special Education Compliance Review, there was an identification of issues that actually impacted the delivery of services for almost every folder that was reviewed, and they also required numerous free and public education or FAPE evaluations. And in terms of the conditions, I think this was based on their prior history, the prior renewal, the one that they're currently in. And in essence, it was to show improvement in their MCAP performance. And as we've noted, with their growth, they are not effective and they're developing in their absolute performance. And this was because of looking at where they were previously with the PARCC assessment. So if you take a look at their ELA grade band 3 to 5 performance in 2019, they were at 10.1% proficiency. And so to get to 20% on the MCAP in 2022, and then when we take a look at how they improved from 2022 on the absolute math, it went from 6.9% to 8.4%. However, there have been mixed results since then, so we have not seen that consistent performance improvement. And as I've noted earlier, in terms of how they were rated based on the data reviews for this process, and then notably that their final proficiency rates in both areas are below the median proficiency of schools with similar poverty levels.
Next is Elmer A. Henderson and Johns Hopkins School. Elmer A. Henderson opened in 2009. It's had a mix of prior renewals, both full and partial. They're currently in a 3-year renewal, which that was the max because they went through renewal during COVID. They have a developing in student achievement, and they're effective in both climate and financial management and governance. The recommendation is for 3 years. They're highly effective in MCAP growth for math, for middle school math. They're in the 89th percentile, as well as for middle school English language arts, where they're in the 65th percentile. Again, this is looking at a school's ability to improve student performance year to year. They're effective in MCAP absolute performance for their elementary ELA, as well as middle grades ELA. For both groups, the typical learner is a developing learner, but their rate of proficiency is significantly higher than those of similar schools. 5.7 percentage points higher for elementary grades, and 8.1 percentage points higher than the median for similar schools for middle grades. They're developing an MCAP absolute performance for math, and not effective in MCAP absolute performance for middle school math. They're effective in 3 of the 4 school effectiveness review measures: talented people, vision and engagement, and strategic leadership and professional management, as well as in 7 of the 12 key actions, meaning the school has adopted and is implementing practices and systems at a level that is improving their effectiveness.
Next, we'll take a look at Frederick Elementary School, which is operated by the Baltimore Curriculum Project. This is an elementary school with roughly 323 enrolled students. It was converted to a charter school in 2017 and merged with Samuel F.B. Morse Elementary School. That was pre-planned as a part of the 21st Century Schools Buildings Plan, and at the time, both schools were in the lowest performing schools category for the district. The school is currently in a 3-year renewal, which at the time was the maximum due to COVID, and this year serves as its 2nd renewal process. The recommendation for Frederick Elementary is a 3-year renewal with conditions based on overall ratings of effective in climate and finance and governance, and the developing rating in the student achievement category. Their highlights for their academic achievement first includes developing rating in the absolute performance category for their ELA math, where their average learner was performing at a level 2 or developing learner level, indicative of partial proficiency. When it comes to math, however, they were not effective, where their students were performing at a level 1 average level, which again is indicative of being in the beginning learner category, suggestive of the need for additional academic support to ensure success in the next grade level. In terms of their growth, they were rated not effective in their English language arts growth, being in the 26th percentile. And I believe the math, I think that next one is supposed to be their math, if I recall correctly, being at the 5th percentile. When we take a look at their school effectiveness review measure performance, they were rated effective in 3 of the 4 areas, notably talented people, vision and engagement, and strategic leadership and professional management, as well as in 8 of the 12 key actions. Again, this is indicative of the fact that there are practices or systems in place that are being implemented in a level that is improving the school's effectiveness. When it comes to effective programming for students with disabilities, they were rated effective. Again, this takes a look at the support for students with disabilities and how they're implementing processes, interventions, and strategies to support student outcomes over the course of the contract. They had few free and public education or FAPE findings in their compliance review. We did note also that they leveraged additional resources to ensure that they maintain a higher level of staffing than what's actually required for this student population. They were rated highly effective in suspensions to the extent that they have decreased suspensions over time and that their rates are below the district averages across the district. And that they have employed a range of strategies to communicate with students about behavior, guiding them towards making positive choices and resolving conflict. Their goal ultimately is to foster a positive and supportive environment where students can learn and grow while addressing and correcting behaviors that otherwise might be disruptful and harmful.
One thing too I want to note about their behavior practices, they really talked and emphasized that their focus is on consequences being something they do with students and not to students. And so that really stood out. Next is Furman Templeton Preparatory Academy. They were originally a traditional school. They converted in 2011. They've had multiple partial renewals and are currently in a 3-year renewal. They're effective in every category: student achievement, school climate, financial management and governance. They are recommended for a 5-year renewal. They're effective in MCAP absolute performance for their ELA. While their students are a developing learner, indicating that partial proficiency, they're 6 percentage points higher than the median for schools with similar poverty. They're developing in absolute performance for math. They're effective in growth. For ELA, they are at the 77th percentile and developing in math at the 57th percentile. They're highly effective in the 5 Essentials survey, which means they're well organized for success and 10 times more likely than less organized schools to improve student outcomes.
Next, we have Govans Elementary School, which is operated by Baltimore Curriculum Project. This elementary school has roughly 408 students enrolled. It was a traditional school that became a charter school, and I don't see the year noted here. I'm trying to remember what year that was. That was what, 2018? I don't quite remember. So we'll have to.
I'll have to add it.
15?
2015.
2015, maybe? Okay, so we'll confirm that and make sure that that's reflected in the documents. And in terms of the history of renewals, there have been multiple consecutive full renewals as a part of its history. The recommendation for Govans is a 3-year renewal based on summary of ratings inclusive of 2 effective ratings in the areas of student achievement and finance and governance, and a developing rating in the climate category. They were effective in their MCAP growth, putting them at a 76th percentile when it comes to math grades 4 to 5. However, they were developing in ELA 4 to 5, where they were in the 63rd percentile. Again, this is based on state level comparisons of students versus their peer group. When we take a look at their absolute performance, they were developing in both ELA and math in the elementary grades. The average student was performing at a level 2, which is the developing learner category, indicative of partial proficiency. When it comes to suspensions, they were also noted as being in the developing category here. We do note that the school is aware of its data and that they do have some positive behavior interventions in place, and that they've implemented some suitable strategies when it comes to the ways to decrease suspensions, but they haven't quite shown up yet in the data. So that's one of the key considerations for the developing rating in this category. The school does have a focus on relationship building and the use of restorative practices. They have a peer mediator program that supports students in grades 4 and 5 to be student leaders. However, we also noted that their suspensions have actually increased over the last 3 years and are actually higher than the district average when it comes to students in grades 3 to 5.
Next is the Green School of Baltimore, which opened in 2006. It's located in Northeast Baltimore. They've had both partial and full renewals in their history. They're currently in a 3-year, which was the max due to COVID. They're effective in student achievement and climate. They're developing. There is a slight pending there. We are reviewing some additional financial information. And so they are recommended for a 3-year renewal with conditions. They're effective in their absolute performance for ELA, where their average student is performing as a proficient learner, which means they have the required knowledge and skills expected at their grade level. They're developing in math, where the average level learner has partial proficiency. They're effective in the 5 Essentials, which means they're organized for success and 10 times more likely than less organized schools to improve outcomes for students. They're developing an effective programming for all student racial ethnic groups, which for schools with diverse populations looks at whether there are achievement gaps that exist between student groups and whether the school is developing and providing high quality programming for all students and has implemented processes and practices that are closing and addressing gaps to ensure high achievement for all students. They have taken seriously implementing real plans. They've adopted a social justice curriculum. They've partnered with authentic community partners that are endemic to their environmental philosophy, like the Backyard Base Camp, which is run by a Black herbalist that is near their school. Baltimore Read Aloud, which is a way they're helping to diversify the book experiences that their students have. So they've taken very seriously, but the results are mixed. I'm going to do this next one. So this is for New Song Academy. They are a new school, initiative schools that opened in the 90s and then converted to charter in 2020. They've had a mixed history in terms of renewal. This is their first renewal as a charter school. With this school, we actually have a pending recommendation. So they're developing in student achievement, they're developing in climate, we're pending in the financial management and governance section. There's some more we need to understand about their finances. They have submitted additional documentation that is under review. We're just in a different place with them than Green School, where we got materials a little earlier. So we're just looking at that. And so we plan to have and share at the work session on December 4th and 5th, and at the public board meeting on December 10th, officially what their recommendation will be as we do that. So stay tuned.
Next up, we have Southwest Baltimore Charter School. It is a pre-K through 8 school with roughly 365 students. It opened in 2005 and has had a history of both full and partial renewals. It's currently in a 3-year renewal, which was at the time the maximum renewal term available due to the impact of COVID. The recommendation for Southwest Baltimore Charter School is a non-renewal that would involve closure of the school in the summer of 2025. This is based on a student achievement category rating of not effective in developing for climate and effective for finance and governance. In terms of the notable key points here, when it comes to their MCAP growth for math, they were rated in the not effective category based on a performance that placed them at 26th percentile, and then they were then 27th percentile for ELA. And then, for ELA for grades 4 to 5, so that's our elementary. And then for the middle grades for ELA, they were in the 23rd percentile. Again, this growth measure is based on comparison of peer students across the state. When it comes to the 5 Essential survey, they were rated not effective. Their results indicate that the school is not yet organized for success, and the research indicates that a school that is weak in 4 of the 5 essentials, effective leaders, collaborative teachers, supportive environment, and involved families, indicates that just a low score in just 1 of the 5 essentials reduces the likelihood of improvement to less than 10%, and in this case, they were weak in 4 of the 5 essentials. They were also rated not effective in the chronic absence measure. The school did not reflect in their application that they truly are aware of their data. For example, the school claimed that their rate was below the district averages when they are in fact above the district averages by 6.3 percentage point for students in grades kindergarten through 5th, and 4.1 percentage points higher for the average for students in grades 6 to 8.
Next is the Tunbridge School, which opened in 2010. It's had 2 full consecutive renewals. It's currently in a 5-year renewal. They're effective in each of the categories: student achievement, school climate, financial management, and governance. They are recommended for an 8-year renewal with conditions. They are highly effective in growth for elementary grades, where they're in the 82nd percentile. For math, for middle grades, they're in the 99th percentile. And for middle grades ELA, they're in the 96th percentile. Again, growth is looking at the school's ability to improve student performance year to year compared to other schools. They're highly effective in MCAP absolute performance in middle grades ELA, where the average student is performing as a proficient learner, indicating that the students demonstrate the required knowledge and skills expected for the grade level. Their proficiency rate is 63.5%, which is 5.6 percentage points higher than the median of schools with similar poverty. They're effective in MCAP absolute performance for math, where the typical learner is a proficient learner, indicating they have the skills and knowledge for that grade level. They're developing an MCAP absolute performance for math 3 to 5 and ELA 3 to 5. So this is an area they should pay attention to. This is where they have the typical learner is a developing learner for them, and they have students have partial proficiency. They are effective or highly effective in 4 of the school effectiveness review measures: highly effective instruction, talented people, vision and engagement, and strategic leadership and professional management. This means the school has effective practices or systems that have been adopted at a level that is improving effectiveness or is also having a significant or sustainable impact on effectiveness. They're recommended for conditions in part due to some of those weaknesses in the elementary school. data as well as there's other early warning indicators that make us want to do just like a midpoint look. And so the recommendation is that they would go through a 5 essential survey at year 4, just to make sure things are on track.
Angela, would you mind going back one slide, please? Thank you. You can first go.
You all know why she did that. Hers.
Oh, sorry, I went too fast.
I took a knock.
So that is it. We've made it to the end. I want to thank an incredible team that's behind me. We've been working around the clock to get this out the door. We do have some little issues with our PowerPoint, so we are going to take it down and update it. It's been, but not the Santa Lisa. No, that's his. But it has been Chair McFadden stepped out of the room. He said to me, 18 schools, just for members of the public, this is double the schools that we normally have. And my team that is helping with me have been doing an incredible job and also brand new to this. And it's been an unusual year. As you can see, we have pending recommendations. And so there's been a lot of complexities to this that just to get all the legal documents to the door today has been really challenging. And so there's some issues with our slides we're going to fix. But it's just because the lift is it's been a big lift to get here tonight. And so I just want to thank Kendra Banks, Tiffany Young, Lindsay Anderson, the staff on my team who have been working around the clock for months to get us to tonight and are going strong right now tonight. And we've working long hours and weekends to get to this point to create the boatload of documents that are required for this process. I want to thank Chief Jones and her incredible team who've been incredible partners in this work to make sure we have the right measures, we push each other. I want to thank the members of the new and charter school advisory board who are volunteers that give up their time to read these applications that take a lot of hours to commit. I want to thank the district staff and Chief Toze and Chief Dabrowski for lending us their staff to support in this year's review, which was a huge lift. I want to thank communications team who's helped us get the report, the final report to a good place that looks beautiful. And I'm probably missing people. And so I just, there's
Special
lots of
education
people.
team with the site reviews.
Special education team, right, conducting the site reviews. On the traditional school side, we have an incredible team. I want to thank the operations team, the delivery on the promises to community could not happen without them and their thoughtful and strategic work. As well as just helping us, the planning team, Maureen Gershberg and her team, and their thoughtful analysis. That's always on the money, and we couldn't do this without them. And all the members of our portfolio review team that has membership from offices across the district who help us think about these things and then implement it. So it's just a lot of people. I'm probably missing people. I apologize. But it's an incredible amount of people that help us get to this place and then help us actually do the work of supporting schools to get stronger, which is where we're really trying to center.
And we also want to thank Angela for her leadership around this, because clearly her commitment to this is evident in how she walks the walk and walks the talk. And I just want to thank her also just for the extra care that you provide for our school communities when we go through these processes. Again, it is a significant lift, but it is a lift that is handled with love. It is handled with care. It is handled deftly, and it's critically important that our community understands it, because we do not take this process lightly. And with Angela's leadership, we are organized and coordinated in a way that leads us to make recommendations that we believe will be in the best interest of our young people so that they can have access to the quality programming that they deserve. Thank you, Angela Alvarez.
Absolutely. Did I also want to lift up Tracy Carter, who's works with the network and many of our charters as well. So thank you for leadership with our schools. And I also want to lift up, right, my volunteer board colleagues who now have the task, the very serious task of lifting their thoughts, their energy, their time in schools. I know that you're scheduling those visits for commissioners, and so this is very critical work that we do not take lightly. So thank you all for your commitment to this work. Are there any additional comments for Angela and her team? Commissioner Redding Lallinger.
Thank you. I'll keep it very brief. One comment and then two quick requests. And I have some questions, but I'm going to email them so that nobody has to wait. The comment is, this is incredible work by your team. I can't imagine what it took to get here. And everyone I've interacted with in your office has been very professional. So thank you for all the work that this represents and how seriously you take this, because it has huge implications. The requests are twofold. One is, for those schools that have demonstrated gaps in performance between students of different groups, can the board have data comparing student performance to other similar students across the district, not just the magnitude of the gap, if that makes sense? Can we have access to that data?
Yes, it's going to be in your digital binder that you'll get this week.
Perfect.
And Redding Lallinger, lift up the importance of that comparison for board members who may need that insight.
Sure, and I appreciate that, Chair. So I think for a lot of our schools with diverse student populations, we're seeing gaps between students, and those gaps are important, and they're important that those schools address those gaps. But obviously, there are cases where students of certain demographics are far outperforming other similar students across the city, not their other peers in their own school. And so I think that comparison adds context. And so again, just doubling down on the fact that we all agree gaps among various student groups are completely unacceptable, and we want to work to close those. They are a reality of American education in every city across this country. And I think it's fair to those schools to also compare how those students are doing to similar students in other schools in our city. So just want that additional piece of data to help make the recommendation. Thank you so much. No, that's it. I'm going to leave. Everyone's trying to go. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, but this is important work. So are there any additional thoughts or comments or recommendations or things that folks need? Thank you, Angela, Chief Jones, and the teams that are putting their hands into this work. Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge Deborah Chester, who has committed 40 years of service to Baltimore City Schools. Deborah started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on May 17th, 1982 as a custodial worker, and then became a custodial worker 2 on November 27th, 2004 until her retirement. Deborah Chester served Baltimore City Public Schools for 42 years. Can we just acknowledge her with a round of applause? Thank you all. The Operations Committee will meet on Tuesday, November 19th at 10:30 a.m. That will be a virtual meeting. The Policy Committee will meet that same day at 4:00 p.m. That will also be a virtual meeting. The Safety and Wholeness Committee will meet on Thursday, November 21st at 4:00. That is a virtual meeting. The Teaching and Learning Committee will meet again on December 3rd at 3:30 p.m. And the board will meet again in both executive session and in a public meeting on Tuesday, December 10th. It's the day after my birthday, by the way. At 3:30 for executive session, and then 5:30 hopefully for our public meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Redding Lallinger. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none, all those in favor for adjourning the meeting, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, our meeting is adjourned at 8:56 p.m. Have a great evening, everyone, and we will see you all in December.
I can't, when you were asking me the question, I was like, present.